Hello everyone, my name is Taxalba and welcome back to the Lovecraftian Video Game Retrospective and welcome to The Nightmare from Beyond. The Nightmare from Beyond is a third-person platformer in which you take the role of a person who is apparently stranded in another realm. You do meet a second character and then you have to traverse a series of obstacles. All of these are third-person jumping puzzles. You have to jump, climb, grab onto ledges, grab onto poles, swing around, get over pits, all of which, I'll be honest, doesn't feel very great. The controls don't feel responsive. The game does have a menu which does explain the controls, but not all of them. For example, it doesn't, at least in my opinion, highlight clear enough that to swing around a pole you have to jump, then hold the jump button, and then release it to jump after swinging. And considering that the initial section of the game does feel like a tutorial, it would have been good if the game actually explained anything here. The game can also be a little bit frustrating. When you fall down a pit, if it's a bottomless pit, you get sent back to the last checkpoint, which isn't great because you have to reload from the main menu. If not, you have to climb out of the pit you currently fell into and then try again, which can also be frustrating because climbing is limited to certain rocks. They are indicated quite clearly, but it doesn't really explain why you can only climb those, and it feels very restrictive. I think the game would be better if you could climb pretty much every rock that has an appropriate height and that isn't just a steep wall, so it would feel a little bit more organic. And what this means is also that once you fail and fall into a pit, you have to climb out, then you spend half a minute trying to get out of that pit, and then you just spend another second trying to do that very precise jump you have to do, only to fail again, and then having to climb out of the pit all over again. So I got frustrated with the game quite early on. There was a certain wall jump section which I just couldn't pull off, and the game didn't indicate how to do it, and I couldn't figure it out. I will admit I didn't get very far, but the game didn't grab my attention. So there's that. Maybe there's more later on, but this is the very first room of the game. You have to grab my attention there, and you have to motivate me to keep going, otherwise people will not play that game, and neither will I. The game is in early access, but that doesn't really excuse anything, because if the game is in early access, it has to be good enough and has to show potential that people want to buy the game and support its development. And I can understand that an early access game is incomplete, for example, that there's only half the campaign or half the levels aren't finished, but nevertheless there has to be something there that you want people to show, that convince them that this is going to be a good game once it's finished, and that's already a good but unfinished game right now. The game has been made with a Unity engine, thus this game, which very much feels like a tech demo, doesn't really demonstrate anything, because the Unity engine has been used to create a bunch of really good games, also a bunch of low quality games, but the engine itself is very solid, and it doesn't need to be demonstrated in way of a tech demo, so this game doesn't really show us anything in that regard, and there are better third-person platformers also made with the Unity engine. With regard to Lovecraftian elements, the game looks a little bit like Lovecraft's Dreamlands could look like, which is nice because they are an underutilized setting, but at the same time they nevertheless feel a bit generic. I don't know if the assets are custom made or purchased somewhere, and to be honest, if they are purchased, I don't really mind it because they look consistent enough, but the graphics and the slightly eerie atmosphere aren't really enough to grab me. And this brings me to the game's last point, and that is the £14.99 price tag, which is way too high for what the game is right now, because the game didn't really motivate me to continue playing, and I can't really recommend it right now because it feels like a generic third-person platformer, not one that's very good at this stage. Maybe the game will turn out great later, but it's in early access now, so this is the time you have to convince people that the game has potential and that it's worth buying, and for this price tag I cannot recommend it. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time. Take care and goodbye.